Hello, everybody. Lovely to have your company on this ANZAC Day round. Just 2 hours with you this afternoon before the Cowboys taking on the Titans. Later on this evening, of course, we'll hear it right here on Triple M. And later it's the Panthers taking on the Sea Eagles. My name's Tony Squires. Nathan Hindmarsh is with me alongside Wade Graham and Brent Reid. Gentlemen, how are we?
Good, thanks, Tony. Yeah, great. Pretty good round so far, isn't it?
It has been amazing. Well, this round is always
good.
You go out to the Allianz Stadium yesterday afternoon, the emotion of what goes on, it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it is a special round. Well, it's a special day on the Australian and New Zealand calendar for starters, just not for rugby league, but for everyone, the community. Everyone gets behind it. It's such a big thing, the emotion. Everyone reflects and, honours ex-servicemen and women who, have done so much for our country. And then obviously we get the opportunity and privilege to go out there and play a game of football and represent that spirit. And yeah, it's been a fantastic start to the round and still plenty of footy to come. So a lot to dive into.
Just quietly, how good is the New Zealand anthem?
It's the best. It's the best, isn't it?
It is just
and
brilliant.
the way they sing it in the two in Maori and English, it's so good, that anthem.
It is.
It tops ours, sadly, doesn't it?
Yeah, I love our anthem.
Okay.
The second verse gets me.
Do you know the second verse?
I'm learning because I still got kids in primary school and whatnot, so they throw out the second verse.
Yes.
So I'm learning it because in primary school when I grew up, there was only the first verse. And that was
we used to have to sing it in the morning.
We did. We had same as us. Yeah. That takes us back, doesn't it?
We did both verses in primary school, so I must have been right when they introduced both verses. Yeah, but
you still know it?
Morning assembly, sing it beneath our radiant Southern Cross. Yeah. I know a bit of it.
Okay. First line.
Second line.
Yeah. So we just take it as read, the rest of it.
Just take me on my word.
Yeah. It was brilliant. It is absolutely spine-tingling. That ceremony is wonderful. And yesterday's case spoiled by a game of rugby league. The poor old Dragons. We'll get to that in a moment. But it is wonderful to celebrate those servicemen and women. Look, and I don't mean to down it. Should we do the full service on every day rather than just on the ANZAC Day?
I haven't really given that a lot of thought, Tone. I think ANZAC Day is the day you do the full service. I'm not sure we need to do it the whole weekend. I think we honour our servicemen and women enough by doing it on ANZAC Day. There's 3 games now on ANZAC Day.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of games. It's not as if we don't do enough for the occasion. So I think that's enough. And also that makes ANZAC Day special for the teams and the players who are playing on that day as well, I reckon.
Yeah. Victor Radley, who was part of that yesterday, he will join us a little bit later on in the show. The Roosters, of course, got that win 46-18 against the Dragons, who were just a little bit listless and didn't look like they were really in the contest. Well, this one wag said to me as we were both leaving early, we're in it right up to the last post, which was about where it was for the poor Dragons. But the Roosters came out absolutely... and I spoke with Victor Radley during the week and he said, we have to win. And they could see that. You could sense that from the team.
Well, that was in the build-up, on paper and form. It felt like it should be a close one, but just where the two teams were at, Dragons had finally hit some form, but it was getting to the point of the season for the Roosters where you just felt like they were more desperate and they needed it. They needed that win, as Victor said, and what an occasion. Like, you don't need it's not a hard game to get up for because there's so much emotion that goes into the day and that's spectacle, the occasion. But then on top of that, the weight and the pressure of needing a result. It would have been a big week for the Roosters in their preparation, where they sit in the season plus the occasion, and they certainly delivered. And I feel like everyone's being a little bit harsh on the Dragons. I know they weren't at their best. I thought they held their gloves up in terms of the weighted possession and, obviously field position.
Yeah.
If they could have scraped in at 14-6 at half time, I feel like that would have been enough for them to get confidence and to back themselves in the second half if things could have even back out. But that try just before half time was a dagger and it made it a bridge too far to climb. But yeah, not their best, but I wouldn't be overly critical. It's just one of those days where things goes against you and it got away from them.
Yeah, I think this is... The Roosters have been building towards a win like this, I think. The Dragons, they've been going thereabouts. There's obviously massive improvements in the Dragons. What Flano's done with them over the last couple of years has been really good down there. And they're looking like a much better footy side. But as many players as the Roosters are missing, they've still got so much class across the board. They can have these wins. And so they're building. So it didn't really surprise me maybe the scoreline blew out a little bit, but this result really didn't surprise me at all. I thought the Roosters were just, they started on fire. Sandon scored in the first 5 minutes, and that really just set him off. And look, Paul Gutho at fullback there, I don't know if he's. I think it's just easier not to tackle anyone at the back there, you know what I mean? Because otherwise you end up like Latrell, don't you? Like, it's easy just let them go past you rather than get, a couple of weeks suspension.
Yeah,
so if you hit them,
true.
but they played really well, the Chooks, and I thought Robbo's done a really outstanding job there, getting them, through all this stuff. After round one, when they got absolutely hiding from the Bronx, they just. And no one really gave them a chance. They're starting to build. They're going to be dangerous.
They blew them away in the opening 20. I think they had 80-odd% of possession in the opening 20 minutes, the Roosters. It's impossible to overcome that. Not many sides can overcome that in the modern game because once teams get in a roll, they just destroy you, don't they? And it becomes point after point. I just thought they tried hard, the Dragons, but they were gone 20 minutes in. So I was really happy for Sandon Smith talking about the players who stood up for the Roosters. I mean, we'll obviously dig into this game, Tone, right? Are we doing that now? Or are we doing that later?
Go for it, fella.
I mean, I've been one of the guys who's been a bit critical of Sandon Smith and the way their halves have gone this year, but he was unbelievable yesterday, just ridiculously good for them. And you can see when Sammy Walker gets back how that combination will work, because there were shades of Sammy about the way he played yesterday, the little kicks and running the football and taking the line. I think that's what everyone's sort of been waiting to see from him. So hopefully he can use this as a springboard for the rest of the year, Sandon, because if he can stand up until Sammy gets there and it keeps him in the mix, they can make a late run.
You, in fact, had been a little bit critical of the team of the Roosters.
I have been, yeah.
Yes, you've put the red line through them a couple of times
yeah.
now. I've seen you do it.
Yeah, and look, they're still in it. They're not gone. So maybe I went a bit early. Who knows?
You weren't alone. You weren't alone. After round one, I just went boom.
Well, after round one, I mean, blimey, they got smashed in round one.
Did you say blimey?
Blimey, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Has anyone been
Flaming hell?
Has anyone been critical of you of the Roosters' criticism?
That's a good point.
A critical of me, yeah. A few people have been, yeah.
Anybody to your face?
Yeah, a few of them quite publicly.
Anyone recently?
No, I don't think that. Look, Spencer had a little shot at me yesterday on the
Spencer
sideline.
Lanier.
Yeah, I don't think it was over my criticism of the Roosters. I suspect. Look,
did he mistake you for JT?
To be fair to Spencer, I don't know what he said because I had it on the can, so I didn't hear it.
So the headphones on.
But he didn't look happy.
Well, he may have been.
He may have been rapping me,
praising you on your.
He may have been
wonderful articles you write.
There's every chance he was.
And your investigation skills.
He's a big fan of the media.
Finding out scoops in rugby league.
There's every chance he was praising me and saying thanks for all the positive.
And of course, he's walked off after a game, so you're not going to be always smiling.
It was during the game.
During the game?
Yeah, it was when he got first interchange. Yeah, when he came off.
Wasn't
he had a sore shoulder too at the
so
time.
He's not going to be smiling when he comes off. So
I got to stress. I don't know what he said, Tony. I had the cans on, but Piggy Riddell was beside me and said, "Geez, mate, he's just given it to you." And I said, "I don't know, man. I don't know what's doing. What did you do to him?" I said, "I don't know." But we wrote about the JT incident this week, so maybe he wasn't happy about it. I don't have a problem with it. Honestly, I don't care.
So is Spencer just going around settling old scores at the moment? Is that what's going on?
As I say, Tony, I don't know what he said. He may have been rapping me, as Hindy said.
But he walked off the field, stood in front of you.
No, he was walking past me. He was walking past me. Yeah.
I like it. He's on a tear at the moment, taking no prisoners. He's after everyone. I like it if he's comfortable enough to hand out some criticism where he thinks it's warranted and he's not happy with it. And, he obviously, when you talk the talk, you need to walk the walk, and the Roosters played well and they're looking to build. I like it.
I'm just going to say, Spencer, you're playing some really outstanding rugby league at the moment.
As I said, Tony, I have no issue with it. No problem with it at all.
No, it's good.
I'm happy for him to, if he's unhappy with me, to let me know. As I said, I don't know what he said. I have no problem with what he.
Well, that's right. Well, it's easy to say that when you actually didn't hear what he said.
Yeah.
Maybe if you'd heard what he was saying, you might not be so at ease.
It doesn't matter. I mean, if he's upset with me, so be it. That's not the first bloke. Just Paul Vaughan. I remember Paul Vaughan giving it to me on the sideline once a long time ago. A few blokes over the years have given it to us on the sideline.
I have a feeling he won't be the last bloke either with you, really.
Is it because of articles you write about them as individuals or the team, or do you know?
No idea.
Because I don't think I'd ever have an issue with anyone that writes anything. Like,
really?
No, I couldn't give a shit.
Oh, we got carte blanche to bag Hindy now.
Go for your life. I still go home and I put my head on my pillow and I'll sleep. So I don't worry about that sort of stuff.
You know what?
Really?
Though? I mean,
no. People give it to you all the time. Like, who cares?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people do. A lot of people aren't kind of thick-skinned like that, though.
maybe we've
They
got
take it personally.
maybe-
Players take it personally these days, don't they? On social media, they read something and they take it personally.
Yeah, but doesn't it fuel your desire to play better and be better at what you're supposed to be doing?
No,
that's how.
it should.
That's what I used to do.
Yeah.
If I didn't get bagged off, and when you, I won't go on with it. Today.
I know where you wanted to go, but that's good. That's
Did you
good.
get bagged, Wayne? Did you ever get bagged?
Yeah, of course. I received criticism throughout my career for certain things, whether it's performance or off-field stuff. But again, I was similar to you. It never really worried me all that much. My focus, I always had tunnel vision. All I wanted to do was put my energy towards the Sharks and the club and make us better. And outside opinions never really worried me because they didn't know what we were trying to achieve or the work we had been doing. And they were really, again, we give comments and opinions on what we're seeing. We don't know what they're actually trying to achieve in the areas they're working on. So it really was, it was outside noise to me that didn't really matter. And all my focus was always internal and about the team and the club and the direction we're trying to head.
You never felt like you wanted to confront anybody about anything that had been said or about you or written about you?
Nah. I was always happy to have a tongue-in-cheek comment here and there, but it would never worry me.
Should stress, Dane, Spencer's playing really good footy.
Yeah, absolutely.
He played really well last
no,
night.
don't
He was
backtrack
outstanding
now,
last night.
Yeah. And a
You're
really
listening,
nice
Spence,
guy
great,
with
great
it.
performance, buddy.
Absolutely. So have you taken the red pen and erased the red pen now through the Roosters and think they have a chance of getting to the eight?
The shades changed.
Has it? Okay.
It's not green or what's the tick? Is it green?
Green's
you
tick.
You get the green
The
green
emoji.
pen out. I think it's sort of a what's between red and green. Is it like an orange or something?
Mauve?
It is the most,
I don't know. It's mauve. What's mauve? Purple?
It's a purpley colour.
Purpley colour, isn't it?
Yeah.
Violet.
We do have to say,
Cerise.
but it's the most open the competition's been in so long in terms of obviously Penrith have wobbled a little bit and then they've had their difficulties. Even Melbourne, dropping the game against St George and Dolphins last week, and they got the result last night, but they weren't at their clinical best. So there's sort of a little bit of hope there that everyone's caught up a bit. Bulldogs were fantastic. They took a hit on the weekend. Sharks probably haven't been at the level that everyone expected to start this season. They're still searching for their best footy. And from week to week, it's hard to gauge who's actually thereabouts and who's not thereabouts. So it's good for the competition, and we're seeing that in the interest that it's generating.
So have you got the Roosters now with the chance? They're what, 3 wins now, aren't they?
3 wins, yeah.
Yeah.
I still had the Roosters even after they lost against Broncos. I got a little running thing with Jimmy Graham because we do the Thursday show in the game, and when I said it after the Broncos game, he actually laughed at me, and I had to defend my point, and they came out the next week and beat Penrith. So I have the Roosters thereabouts. I think they'll be in that cluster of teams fighting for seventh and eighth. There's always 4 or 5 teams right there at the end of the year, and I think they can do it. I know they haven't been consistently at that level, but Hindy just said they've been in most of the games they've played, and the team, they've lost experience, but the team they put on paper is still good enough to get the results against a lot of other teams, and I think that they're trending in the right direction. And I'm almost willing to say they will be in the 8.
Yeah.
I reckon they'll be 7th or 8th.
The thing for them is they'll be better at the end of the season than they are now when they get bodies back.
Yeah.
And they've got young blokes who are going to get better as the year goes on as well. So if they're in the 8, if they're 7th or 8th come September, I mean, they could, I'm not saying they can win it, but they could cause some upsets in the finals.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it will rely on Teddy though. Like he's probably
How good is he
he's
playing?
in very good. But I thought he was unfairly criticised last year. I thought his efforts were still there last year. This year he looks better again.
Yeah.
Can we stoke an Origin debate? I'm a Queenslander. Can we stoke an Origin debate, please?
I've got him in front of Edwards.
Oh,
I
it's on.
I have him in
Hold
front of Edwards.
New South Wales crisis.
At the
I love
moment, I don't think it's a crisis. I think it's a good thing.
Mass changes.
Wholesale sackings.
Edwards gone. Hindmarsh calls for Edwards' head.
Yeah,
How good.
let's not say that. But
Just hang on. Spencer
think-
just messaged me. He said no, he's back off you.
yeah. No, I honestly
Spencer
think
should be there. Very good.
Teddy's put his hand up and said, "Look, I'm back. I'm ready to go again." And
Could you pick him on the wing?
No.
Okay.
No. I like wingers to be wingers. So that's going to be a bit of a tricky issue Origin time with obviously Lomax. Will he be fit enough?
Yep.
To'o as well. So yeah, I like my wingers to be wingers.
Yep.
Because wingers are just they're
about-
just wingers.
What
They're just,
about
And that'd be a headline. I like my wingers
Lomax
to be
is a
wingers.
centre back.
Because we
no, Lomax he's a winger. He'll be a winger when he returns from injury. He'll be on the wing for Parramatta.
Okay.
So he's a winger. Look, he's an expensive winger, but he's a winger.
Speaking of wingers, what about the learning curve for Mark Nawanga-Nituwazi? He's brilliant in the centres. He flips over, plays on the edge, and was just brilliant.
He's a fantastic athlete and someone who's only, still learning the game. Yeah. His ability to just square players up one-on-one when he has the ball, use his footwork and strength to create opportunities. He's been up there with the Roosters' best players and most consistent. And, you look at Dom Young, who was a victim of that form because Billy Smith comes back in. He has a fantastic return, misses out due to suspension, but he earned his way back in. And Mark has been fantastic and gets that shot on the wing and does the job. Not just does the job, but causes havoc. He made that break where he did the little move on Val Holmes and created that opportunity, and he's just getting better and better. And again, as Hindy said, like their side on paper, if they can find that consistency, they're going to trouble a lot of teams.
Yep, they look good. All right, Reedy, we should have a quick look at the charge sheet because there's a lot of stuff that happened on Thursday night we should get into. And then, of course, Latrell, who will miss out on Magic Round next week for the Bunnies.
Well, that's the freshest one, Tom, because Latrell got charged this morning with danger. Interesting, it was dangerous contact rather than careless high tackle. I think that's because the dangerous contact charge is more, it's a wider charge, so it's harder to beat a dangerous contact charge rather than a careless high tackle charge. But he's looking at minimum 1 week with an early guilty plea. Yep. So you're right, he'll probably miss Magic Round. A lot to digest out of the Bulldogs-Broncos game. So Tilly Tupouniua was the biggest one out of that. He's looking at least 5 games for 2 charges, including the knee on, I think that was on Brendan
Which knee was it? Was it the first one or the
first
second
one.
one?
Yeah, he went back for second. Honestly, can we just dive into this quickly? We talk about protecting players and duty of care, and it's always on the defender's responsibility. He has the ball there and attacks Piakura, and he stays on the field like that is.
Yeah, I think most people thought that should have been a sin at a minimum.
And then Paul Montoya,
Paul
Montoya on the next play. That one you go, okay, he hits and spins. It's a reaction, gets him a little bit high, and he pays for the sins of his teammate. Like that one they have wrong, and it's lucky that the game didn't boil over at that stage because when as a team, if you see a player hit by an act of foul play like that and the referee doesn't do anything about it, well, players will take things into their own hands if they don't feel like the referee's going to, sort that out and put water on the fire. And that's one of the worst things I've seen in a long time on the field. Really,
and where he got him to, right in that between the neck and the shoulder, that it didn't miss him. It was flush.
The first one with the knee raise, you can sort of forgive him maybe a little bit in terms of he could have reacted and got his bracing wrong, and he got that one wrong. That was bad enough, but there's no doubt he went back for seconds.
And but that one looked a little bit intentional. That he knew his face was there.
100%. I agree with you, Hindy. And that one, no, I think he was lucky not to be sent off.
I agree, but the thing is, I think in fact the shoulder charge got him more weeks.
That got him more weeks. Yeah, it did. Yeah, the shoulder charge got him more.
Even so, to now when they're watching it, that seems wrong still.
As Josh Curran's shoulder charge got him more than the knee. He's looking at a minimum of 3 weeks as well, and Matt Burton's looking at least 1 game. So they got some casualties.
I can't remember what Matt Burton did.
that one didn't even get picked up.
That didn't get picked up. That was
he
hit the shoulder contact with the head
yes.
and the tackle. So they're the big ones. A few fines out of yesterday too. Tony should have mentioned Sandon Smith, Murata Niokora and Leo Thompson all fines. And the big injury news back to Thursday night was Adam Reynolds, the shoulder problem. It's more of a pain issue for him. He wants to play next week, but it'll depend on how he gets through the week pain-wise. But no scans as yet. I don't think he'll need scans.
He'll be all right. If he finishes the game with a shoulder injury, it's just an ongoing issue. Like, if there's a serious issue, there's no way he can finish the game.
Spencer's dealing with the same thing at the moment. He went off and up the tunnel yesterday, and that was for a shoulder
talking
problem.
about you all the way up, mumbling.
Just on Latrell, do you fight if you're Latrell on that one? Like,
how do you get off that?
But he slipped a long way. He did slip a long way.
Yeah. I think it's harsh at grade 2 as well because he sort of got caught in between 2 things. one, it was probably borderline late, but with someone like Farlongo, when he's in the clear, you need to get your body in front of him and cut off that space and do your best. And then I think it's borderline a little bit late, and then because he slipped
a long way.
Yeah, he gets him high. So I thought a grade 2 might be a little bit harsh. Like, I don't know what he's meant to do there. Okay, maybe pull out of the tackle or try to, but it all happened so fast. I get it.
But then you look what happened the previous game with Gutho at fullback.
Slide straight through.
But I think
it's hard being a fullback. It'd be a tough play.
I think where he's going to find it really hard is that it looked as though he lost control.
Yeah.
He was almost horizontal when he made contact and he sort of led with the shoulder. So maybe you could try and get a downgrade, but I think it's going to be really difficult. I think that's why they charge him with dangerous contact, because it's harder for him to beat that charge because the parameters of dangerous contact are wider than what a careless high tackle would be.
But then you got Val Holmes, who I thought shoulder charged when the Dragons
scored
their first try. I'm thinking, how can that not be pulled back? And that was never a tackle.
Yeah,
but that play on try down the other end. Yeah,
I don't agree with that, Reedy. I thought.
Oh, here we go. We're on.
I thought he had his arm up. They were just travelling at speed. Because the big one is his arm was like that. When it's down by your side, that's when they'll.
The silly ones.
Yeah. Well, if your arms, or even the current one when he came across the body and he didn't have his arm up horizontal. I thought Val actually had his arm up, but it's a risk because if again, Savala goes down and he hits him in the head, that's big dramas. That's big dramas.
All right, got to get you to a break. The Bears are back. That's next on the Saturday Scrum, thanks to Thirsty Camel. It's Nathan Hindmarsh, Wade Graham, Brent Reed with you on the Saturday afternoon. Launch your punting plan with the Ladbrokes app. Take on the fun and download the Ladbrokes app today. You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. We're joined by Jared Timms. Timsy, g'day.
G'day, Tony. G'day, boys. How are you today?
Very, very well, thank you. Wade, I was just saying before how open this competition is. Give us a bit of an update on head-to-head at the moment, line markets at Ladbrokes.
Yeah, well, the Panthers, they were back into winning form in pretty dominant fashion against the Roosters last week, weren't they? And, of course, the form out of that game franked last night with the Roosters winning, so probably no real surprises here. The Panthers, they're into $1.52 favouritism today. There has been some interest for the Sea Eagles at odds. They are going to start outsiders, though, with the Ladbrokes bookies, $2.55. The line is 5.5 points.
G'day, Timsy, mate. The first try-scoring market always popular with the punters. Who's on top of that for Ladbrokes?
Yeah, absolutely the case, mate. Look, plenty of genuine try scorers to pick from in this one, isn't there? Paul Alamotti, certainly a favourite target for this Panthers attack this year. He is the $8 top left in first try scorer betting today from Tom Jenkins, $9.50. Lehigh Hopewati, Tom Trebojevic and Tommy Talawa, the $11.50 top left for the Sea Eagles. There's a few that have had some interest, I should say, at longer odds here. Isaac Tungo, $16 into 14s. And I thought Hamoli Olakuatu might be a bit of value for the Sea Eagles fans today, $19.
All right, Timsy, let's get the fun stuff here. Build us a same game multi.
Well, the Panthers have failed to cover the line in each of their last 6 games at CommBank Stadium, so we're going to take the Sea Eagles to cover today. Turbo back in. I think he scores a try. I think Isaac Tungo can as well. $11.87 and a Ladbrokes same game multi.
Beautiful work, Jared Timms. Thank you so much.
Thanks, boys.
Launch your punting plan with the Ladbrokes app. Take on the fun and download the Ladbrokes app today. You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
Seemed just a few weeks ago that Peter V'landys said an expansion to Perth was just not going to happen. It was off the table, no chance. Suddenly they're in. The Bears are back, set to come in 2027. Great news for those long-suffering North Sydney Bears supporters. What does it mean, Reedy? Where is it shaping up?
As you said, Tony, great news for Bears fans. And look, it's still got to get approval from, well, they've still got to go to the Players Union with it. They've gone to the clubs. They went to the clubs on Thursday about it and just inform them about their plans and what would happen. But obviously, they've got to get moving because they've got to sign players, put a squad together. They can start negotiating with players from November 1. They've got a coach. It's going to be Brad Arthur by the looks of it. I think we're almost certain it'll be Brad Arthur. They still need a board. They need a CEO. They need a head of football. So they've got a lot of work to do in the next 6 months to make sure they've got everything in place for November 1 to attack the player market, because that is going to be the key. You have to go and sign some big names. There's some clubs who are panicking right now, and with good reason, because there's some big names coming off contract on November 1 that they're going to try and lock up their existing clubs in the next 6 months. If they can't get it done, the market's going to be a frenzy, which we love.
Just Wayne Bennett, he's
No.
not getting tossed up?
No, he was tossed up for PNG because he's off contract at the end of 27.
Right.
So
And he can't get out of contracts these days.
I think South's pretty happy with Wayne. I don't think he'll be going
But Wayne
anywhere.
sounds like he's very interested
He's very pro-Perth, isn't he, Wayne? You reckon he's batting his eyelids at them? He's eyeing it off? Could be.
Logistically, so what do we know? Will they play, or how many games at North Sydney, for example?
I think at most time they'll play one game in North Sydney, but I can't imagine it'll be an NRL game. I think it'll be a trial, a pre-season trial.
Wow, okay.
I don't think they'll play an NRL game there. I'd imagine they'll play one home game potentially in Sydney, and the rest will be in Perth. That was what was being talked about earlier in the process. But, obviously the NRL is going to run the team for at least the first 5 years, so the NRL is going to own the franchise. And they'll have control over all that sort of stuff, how many games they play, where they play. But the vast majority will be in Perth.
Right, I think you spoke with Mark Nwanga-Nitawazi
Yes.
just in terms of the kind of players and where we'll get those players from. Here's what he had to say.
The NRL obviously announced it. Well, they didn't announce it, but it looks like we're going to Perth. And one of the things they said in terms of filling out the team for Perth was they looked to South Africa and Argentina for rugby union players. What do you think? I mean, you're a guy who's made that switch now. Is there an avenue to go and get more blokes from rugby, and particularly from those places?
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you said, South Africa, 2-time World Cup winners at the moment, and they've got a ton of prospects over there. So I wouldn't be surprised if they put their hands up, and the development can get done easy. We're just making the switch and trying new things. But yeah, it's definitely possible.
It's interesting because Peter O'Sullivan, who's now at Newcastle, when he was at the Roosters 15 years ago, went to South Africa and he signed two young kids, a guy named J.P. du Plessis and Brian Scotsana, I think the other guy's name was, and neither of them made it because he thought this is an avenue I can go down, I can get young kids out of South Africa, bring them over to Australia, put them in our system, and they could potentially become NRL players. I think they were 18 when he signed them, and they both lasted 1 year. They played Toyota Cup, holding under 20s for 1 year, then they switched back to rugby. So it's an interesting path to go down. I'm not sure how successful it will be, but I
think there's a bigger. I think it's if they were outside backs, I think it could be easier. The transition from union to league, I think, could be a little bit easier. Forwards, rugby union forwards are really. They're a different makeup. They're a different build. They're a different size. Their movements are probably a little stiffer, if I can use that word. They're not as probably mobile as a rugby league forward is today, but you never know. It's not a bad idea.
You need a Brad Thorne kind of figure who obviously could play both.
Well,
his body shape.
there are those exceptions,
But I think what's more realistic is New Zealand rugby union players, because at least you guys like Moses Leo, right, for example, and Will Warbrick, whilst they played rugby and made their name in rugby, they at least dabbled in rugby league at some point in their lives, right? South African and Argentinian players, they've played no rugby league. So at least the Kiwi rugby guys generally at some point in their life have played both sports.
Yeah.
So they at least know what it's like and know the rules and they've got a taste of it. Whilst South Africa, particularly Argentina, I mean, to look at that would be a risk signing an Argentinian rugby union player, I'd imagine.
Yeah. I agree with Hindy in terms of you need to target specific type of players, and that's the big athletic outside backs, because our game in the middle is so different. They need to be so much more mobile as a forward in rugby league, and just your cardio needs to be completely different because there's no stoppages in our game anymore, or minimal stoppages, and it's just a harder game, fitness wise. And you wouldn't see a rugby league forward. Again, there will be the exceptions, but many be successful as a union forward because just the sheer size and strength of those guys. It just you trade off different attributes that work for different games. But like Mark Nwanga-Nitawazi is a perfect example. A big, athletic outside back with skills that cross over in both games. You need to be really specific on who you target.
Yeah.
But if you get the right athletic guy who's athletically gifted, you can teach him the rules and he can make a fist of it for sure.
Right. So apart from those edges of your top 30, who, if it's Brad Arthur, what sort of person is he looking for as I pick first? This is the leader of my club.
In terms of a player, Tone?
Yeah.
Well, I think Jerome Hughes is the logical one. I think Jerome's off contract at the end of 26. Melbourne have got Jonah Pezzett in the system, sitting behind him, waiting for an opportunity. I think they want to keep Jerome, but if he goes to the open market, he's going to get, they'll throw 1.5, 1.6 at him, I imagine. And Melbourne when you look at who Melbourne got coming off at the end of 26, you got Jerome, Ryan Pappenhausen, Xavier Coates, Will Warbrick, Sean Bloor, There's another one I can't think off the top of my head. They're going to have a salary cap squeeze, and if you've got Jonah Pezzett sitting there ready to go behind Jerome, you're almost better just saying, take the 1.5 Jerome. In my opinion.
Did they look at the way the Dolphins did things? You know, they didn't really go out. They looked for their big marquee players. They didn't get them.
No.
But they had a good they varied it across the game or the team with experience. Like the Dolphins picked players we didn't think they were going to go for. Like, and it's turned out to be okay for them. So did they look at do they look for that heavy marquee player which is going to blow the budget, or do you pick, bit of experience, bit of youth?
It'll be interesting because right now they still haven't settled on staff, a GM of football. So how do they know what strategy they're even going to do? They haven't got the people in the room yet to decide on that strategy. At least with the Dolphins,
we've done all that. We've done all that now.
Have we?
And now we're picking the team.
I would say what's
fast forward.
Have we done it?
We've done it.
Okay.
I would say what's
Let's
also
just pretend.
significant about Jerome Hughes is his agent is also Brad Arthur's agent. So there's already a natural connection there.
Ooh, who'll be hooker?
I don't know why.
These young blokes at the Knights.
Oh, yeah. Jake Arthur will be there for sure as well, won't he? They'll both be over there for sure.
Saw Jakey the other day.
Did you?
He's training young kids out at Rouse Hill there.
Was he really?
Yeah, doing a bit of kicking practice with one of them.
Getting ready for Perth,
Possibly.
maybe.
It is an interesting market, isn't it? It's always, it's still going to be tough. It's AFL is so dominant there with two teams that are in, Freo and of course West Coast, which is a lot of money behind it. So it's going to be a tough early, time for them, I think.
I would say, Tone, though, there is support for rugby league over there. We've seen that. And I think, this, for some reason, this is stuck in my head. When the Western Reds folded, I think they had money in the bank. They were actually making money. So there's a lot of money in WA, right, with the
Well, they were a victim of Super League and rugby league getting back together, weren't they?
Financially, I think they're going to be a bit of a juggernaut. It's just whether they can put a side together.
But they need to put a side together that's going to be successful early.
Yes.
For it to be successful over there in Perth. Like, it's a little bit different with the Dolphins up there in Queensland. We're going all the way over to Perth, where it didn't work the first time with whatever happened, but they need to put a side together that's going to win games early and be successful early for it to really get a grip on the game over there.
All right, what about the back end now that we talk of the 20th team not happening now till after the Olympics in Brisbane in 2032?
Yeah, well, that's it'll be off the table till at least probably 2033, Tone. So that means they get through the next broadcast cycle, which will be a 5-year deal from 28 to 32. Then they look at expanding to 20 teams, which obviously that has implications for the length of the competition, the idea of going to conferences, all that sort of stuff. That's all on hold till you get to 20 teams, I'd imagine.
Well, are you sure? Because if we get
I'm not sure, but
if we get 18, we still get that extra game a weekend. So if we wrap that up, over the course of the rounds, the content will still be there for the broadcast. I think they could actually tinker with the scheduling.
Maybe we're not playing 24 games.
Early, because if you do the maths, I think it works out almost the same.
Because you get an extra game, right?
Yeah, we get the extra game every weekend. So I think the scheduling could be looked at a bit earlier. And if it works out in terms of how many number of games we can give the broadcast and shorten our season, I think that's in the best interest of everyone in terms of obviously NRL players and the amount of games that they're playing, their workloads, but even the back end of the year where we grow and what we look to do with the international game. That would be the perfect case scenario for everyone if we could extend that off season a little bit by shortening the season.
We'll know that in the next, because they're about to start broadcast negotiations now. So that will all be in part of the broadcast negotiations. We'll know within months whether the season gets reduced.
All right, I just don't know what it all means for the Hawaii volcanoes.
Oh, they're still on just after the Olympics.
Great logo. Great logo.
Absolutely brilliant logo. Next, Rooster star Victor Radley will join us to tell us exactly what Spencer Leniu said to Reedy on the Saturday Scrum.